Welcome to the Driveway Beers podcast with Mike and Alex. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share on any platform that you're listening on. All right, welcome back to another episode. I believe this is episode 94, for crying out loud. Creeping up on that 2-year mark. I think right around 2 years is going to be the 100th episode, because I think we recorded them in April, recorded in March, released them in April, so we're really creeping up.
We recorded a couple, I think we did 3 or so.
It was 4. I think we did 4. Yeah. Like the first one was that ship in the Suez Canal.
Yeah,
I still remember that. Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for coming back. If you haven't gotten your VPN, get private internet access, go to drivewaybeers.com. Click on our PIA little logo, little green guy on the right hand side, or all the way at the bottom if you're on a mobile site, or go to privateinternetaccess.com/drivewaybeers. All right, so I'm going to spring a topic on you, and we didn't talk about this before the show. So, have you been following at all the so-called Twitter files?
A little bit.
All right.
Yeah, so I saw Taibbi on, I guess he was on Carlson.
Yep.
The other night, so.
Yeah, so it's been Matt Taibbi, Barry Weiss, Michael Schellenberger, and there's like 2 other people, but I think they're associated with Barry Weiss's new website called The Free Press. Although I think it's always funny when these websites call themselves The Free Press, because it's behind a paywall.
Right.
I
guess he had to buy the newspaper when he still printed newspapers, so.
That's true. I mean, look, as content creators, I don't really think it's fair that someone should have to put their content out there for free, right? I mean, I understand why. I mean, you want to get paid for your work. I understand that part. And they have a lot of subscribers.
Yeah.
Matt Taibbi, too, on Substack. I think, so Barry Weiss was on Substack, but she decided to do this thing separately. I think it's her and her sister, and Michael Schellenberger is with them as well. And a couple others. It's a lot of those disaffectioned New York Times reporters.
It's a lot of people that have been on Rogan.
Yeah.
Schellenberger, I think, wrote a book about San Francisco and how jacked up.
San Francisco.
Yes.
I think was the name of that book. Yeah. It was an interesting book.
Yeah. And the thing is, these people aren't wacky conservatives.
No.
And I don't mean wacky. They're not what you consider your wing nut, QAnon types. I mean, these were people that worked for the New York Times. Taibbi was like the number 1 reporter. He wrote the biggest articles in Rolling Stone for years.
Right.
In fact, I subscribed to Rolling Stone for a long time, and he was the reason I did. So,
yeah. A lot of people don't really understand that. For me, the Rolling Stone was a magazine about music, and I think around the 90s, they kind of started going into more mainstream journalism, but they did like the investigative pieces. Like these were not your 1 or 2 page articles. These were 5, 6, 7 pages.
So I used to keep it in the bathroom.
Yeah. And
these were good, 3, 4 poop articles. Like, it wasn't anything that you're going to read in like a single sitting. They were articles that would go the distance.
Yeah. And then unfortunately, within the last 10 years, they went toward, they didn't investigate the journalism anymore. They didn't verify sources. And for example, they wrote that article about, I believe it was the hospital in Kansas City or Kansas that was like turning away people. And they had pictures and everything, but the pictures were from like 2 years ago.
Yeah, and they were wearing winter coats, and it was in July.
Right.
And it was just complete crap.
Yeah. Like, completely unverified. They didn't check with the sources. They took someone's word for it, like an ex-employee's word for it, and ran with it.
Yeah.
Turns out the ex-employee was disgruntled, and they kind of got caught with their pants down. And they really haven't recovered since.
Yeah.
But Taibbi left before that.
And the thing is, Taibbi, he'd write some articles that were, I blatantly disagreed with his take, or his take didn't support my personal views on the issue.
Yeah.
And to me, that's how I know, like, but then, so I know that he's not just writing, I'm not in the echo chamber with him, which is nice. I always try to, it's like whoever's in power, I watch the other news.
Right.
So like when Trump was in power, I watched MSNBC, and now that Biden's here, I watch Fox News. I watch the other side, Hannity would get so bad with Trump, you could almost call him like dear leader.
So here's the weird part with Fox News. I feel like it's two different networks in one. Hannity is like the old neocon, whereas Tucker Carlson is more, he's more America first. He's not straight up MAGA, but he's more America first. For whatever reason, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's like from a really rich family.
He is.
But so somehow he understands why Trump won.
Yeah. So Tucker Carlson was just on, not just on, but one of the last couple of episodes, he was on Tulsi Gabbard's podcast. And I listened to him there, and Tucker really, and she talked about where he's from, and his dad was a journalist, and they lived in D.C., and, and not like, he didn't live in like Simple City or Berry Farms, like, he wasn't in the, Southeast.
Right.
He was in Northwest, hanging out with the elites and hobnobbing. So he knew all these people. So, yeah, he comes from money. It's not like he pulled himself up by his bootstraps.
Right.
But he has a really, he seems, people, of course, on the left, they call him he's a Russian plant, and he's this, and he's an election denier, and a this and that. But he just asked questions.
At this point, the criticism from the left right now holds no weight.
Yeah.
It's the boy who cried wolf at this point. You can't call everyone a misogynist or racist. You can't call everyone all the ists and all the isms.
Right.
And because then the words lose their meaning. Mm-hmm. And that's where they're at right now.
Yeah.
Like, they believe it. In that echo chamber, sure, you call someone a bigot, and guess what? That whole side thinks that person's a bigot.
Yeah.
Nobody outside that bubble thinks it, though.
Right.
Everyone's like, oh, God, you guys again?
Yeah. Here we go.
Okay. Like, what happened this time? Did someone not tie their shoes correctly? Did someone close the door on someone by accident, and now they're... It was a man who accidentally didn't hold the door open for a woman because he didn't see her. Well, now he's a misogynist.
But if you held the door for her, then
you're also a misogynist.
Chauvinist.
Yeah, a chauvinist. Okay, that's a different ist. Sure.
Yeah.
So it's like at this point, you're just like, oh, okay. What is your talking point now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Move on. We heard you.
Yeah.
Okay, stop talking. Oh, okay. It's like they just keep coming and keep coming. It's like, oh my God.
Well, because they have an unlimited. They have like as many swings as they want at the plate because they own the mainstream media.
True.
So they can just keep coming up and coming up. So they never strike out. So, it's like they foul everything off.
Yep.
They never strike out. They never get on base. So they just stand there. It's like every at bat for them is like 27 pitches.
See, I think for a while though, in the beginning, I think they had some hits because people believed them. Mm-hmm. The problem is you kept going back to the well because it worked for a little while. And now everyone who believed you before is like, well, wait a minute.
And I think there's so many people that hated Trump so much.
Sure.
That they would have, and I wasn't, I'm still not a big fan of the guy.
I want him to go away.
Yeah. But, when you have that such boiled up hatred for this one person, like they could have told you anything.
Yeah. I mean, for me, Trump served his purpose. He sent a clear message to the establishment that everyone was done with it. Like, everyone was pissed off that it's the same party over and over again, regardless of the candidate had an R or D next to their name.
The Uniparty.
It was the Uniparty at that point. They were all neocons.
Yeah.
And I know Democrats, no, Hillary and Barack Obama weren't neocons. Yes, they were. It was all about the feeding that war machine. I mean, going back to H.W. Bush, even Reagan to a certain extent, but at least Reagan had a purpose.
I mean, Reagan
was trying to outspend the Russians to bankrupt them,
and it worked. Yeah.
But then H.W. saw the money train that was there. Now you got to remember, HW was the head of the CIA.
Yeah.
That's like top war machine right there. And he's like, well, wait a minute. This is a gravy train. We can't stop this. We need another war. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Bill Clinton came around. Clinton he had his wars. I mean, you can't forget the not the Middle East, the Eastern Bloc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was
Yugoslavia.
Yeah, there was.
We were big in that.
Yep, the Balkans. Then there was also of course there was Mogadishu.
Yep.
In Somalia.
Black Hawk Down for anyone who wants a reference.
Yeah, and that went on for a while, and people think, oh, that was Black Hawk Down. Well, prior to that, the Marines were there.
Right.
And the Somalis actually liked the Marines, and then when they left and the Army came,
right,
they hated the Rangers, and then it culminated in Black Hawk Down, but it still kept going on.
And we expanded in the Middle East through Clinton. I mean, it started with H.W. Bush, expanded through Clinton, and then Bush's son, W, expanded the Middle East even more. I mean, and then Barack Obama did the same thing with the Middle East. The Middle East was like a treasure trove for the military industrial complex.
Yeah, you have. There's always Israel there.
Sure.
And then
you can always do things in the name of Israel.
Yeah.
Well, we got to protect them.
Right. And then you have and I'm not going to get into the right, wrongs, or indifference of Israel.
No, but you can. But the one thing you can say, Israel can protect itself.
Oh yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It needs our money, but it didn't really need our people.
Yeah,
it didn't really need our boots on the ground. I mean,
if you think of something like the Yom Kippur War, the 6 Day War, where they just whipped up on.
That's a badass group. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
I don't know the last time they've lost anything.
Yeah.
Other than through negotiation.
Yeah.
Like they've been roughing some people up.
Yeah. And it's the only functioning democracy in the Middle East.
Yep.
So, there's that too. So I'm not going to discount, I'm not going to get into the pro or anti-Israel and the Zionists and all that. I'm not getting into that. But but then you have Shias and Sunnis.
That goes back
and
thousands of years.
And the way it was described to me, because I don't really know the difference, it's essentially almost like Protestants and Catholics. Like it's two different sects, and they don't get along either. And then all of these countries, none of them existed because the population in that area, for the most part, was nomadic. They'd move around. And they identify more with Shia or Sunni than they do with Iraq or Saudi Arabia or Iran.
Well, because Britain...
They just drew lines.
They drew the lines.
Yeah.
And they didn't... And from what I understand, they drew the lines on purpose that way. Mm-hmm. To create that inner turmoil.
Yeah.
From what I understand with the Shia-Sunni divide is that it's a matter of who each sect believes is the true descendant of the Prophet Muhammad. So the Prophet Muhammad is their... It's basically higher than Jesus on the totem pole for them.
Yeah, so I did a little research on that. So yeah, they view Jesus as another
disciple.
Yes. But Muhammad was the true prophet.
Yep. And so the split though is who was the true what's the word I'm looking for? The next in line. Who took over after Muhammad passed? And that's where the split is.
Yeah.
One group thinks one person was, another group thinks another person was, and that's where the big split is. And that's a big split. Like that again, a lot of wars over who they believe. So and I don't know any answers to that. So
but anyway, so and because of that, you've got like an endless supply of conflict to get involved with. And then also, people say, "Oh, we're propping up Israel." You don't think we're propping up Saudi Arabia? Right. They fly F-15s. Pretty much when I look at that area, whoever's flying F-15s around, we're propping them up.
Yep. Egypt.
Yeah. We're not just, and if they're flying MiG-21s, if they're still operable, we're not.
Right.
So that's why the only operable F-14 Tomcats are operated by the Iranians.
Yeah.
So
and that was when we had to deal with them when the Shah of Iran was still around.
Yeah, and they took delivery on a couple of them, and then there's the revolution, and we stopped delivery on everything else, and then so they still have some, but there are no other operational types around.
But so that's another rabbit hole we could eventually go down.
Oh, sure.
But so going back to the Twitter files. First of all, the way they released a lot of this from the first set to I think now they're on like 8 or 9 was probably the worst way to release everything. And I understand why. So Elon Musk basically gave these 5 reporters different tranches of data to look through. And said, write what you want, but it has to be on Twitter first.
Yes.
So it's basically because Twitter's segmented in 256 characters. You basically get what should be a 5-page news article separated into and condensed into 60 paragraphs that are barely even paragraphs.
Yeah.
And you have to put, and they're putting in all the supporting documentation and charts and emails, and like they're trying to provide receipts. But by the time, and of course, you probably assume that these people knew how to use Twitter and how to do a chain.
Yeah.
Or a thread.
Who was it?
Taibbi blew it up the first one. Like you had to like click on 17. Like he responded in line to some and not in others. It's like, oh my, it was so hard to follow.
Yeah.
Luckily, the first tranche of information wasn't really damning. I mean, look, were there people, censoring some stuff? Sure. Mm-hmm. Should they have been? Probably not.
Yeah.
But as they kept going further and further on, they started releasing information that showed that the FBI they basically started off asking Twitter to look into certain accounts and tweets. Mm-hmm. Then it became they were more or less saying, hey, take these down.
Yeah.
Basically, it was more, now it turned into demands. Mm-hmm. So now it wasn't really Twitter or Twitter's policy that was censoring individuals. And whether you want to call this First Amendment or not, I don't care. The point is, acting federal government agencies, and it wasn't just the FBI, were asking a social media network to hide or suppress or take down tweets from individuals, regardless of whether they were true or not.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is that everyone on it seems like everyone on the left, they're using the word nothing burger.
Oh, yeah. They keep saying that.
Right. It's like in lockstep. Everyone is saying nothing burger. It's like no one came up with a different word. Like they all decided to use the same word, which to me it sounds like a talking point.
Have you ever seen those? They'll do what do they call it? A super... It's not a chop cut, that's something else. But it's like a super mashup or super... Like they put all these clips together. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy when they show them. And they'll show like they'll show like, Don Lemon saying nothing burger. And then it'll be the guy from Morning Joe and his wife, nothing burger. And then it's the MSNBC, all their nothing burger. And it just spreads. It's like they're all saying it at the same time. It's like everyone from all the major networks, all their hired talking heads, their hired guns, are all saying nothing burger. They just, whatever the talking point is, they just repeat it.
Well, and on Twitter, there are paid activists on Twitter. And from the left, it's like JoJo from Jers, Brooklyn Dad. Mm. And there's like 10 or so more. And there was a picture of them all at the White House with President Biden. And it was amazing to see how coordinated each of those accounts' tweets were. Mm-hmm. Like, you're talking about almost word for word, letter for letter copies of tweets that were being sent out.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a minute. Are these bot accounts that are acting as if they're not? But that's another topic altogether. My point is this. Here you have it in black and white. You're seeing the emails from the FBI agent to Twitter asking for these certain things. whether you think it's right or not, the fact that a federal government agency is asking for certain things to be taken down outside of the company policy. This is beyond moderation.
Yeah.
Now, because all these companies have to have moderation, right? This is way beyond moderation. This is the federal government doing it. This isn't the corporate policy. This isn't the Trust and Safety Division. This is FBI agent Chan asking Yoel Roth via a one-way communicator to look at 20 accounts, or asking him, and eventually it turned into him saying, take these down.
Yeah, and that's that's what's the most troubling about it. And first of all, I can't believe that this is the story of the century.
Right.
But it's only getting attention on one side.
Correct.
And then, of course, to these independent journalists that are out there, the only type of real investigative, the only real journalists there are anymore. And then the biggest people, the argument always was, well, they're a private company.
Right.
However, once the private company starts acting at the request or the direction of the state, now they're still subject. So, like, say you're in a hotel and you're having a huge party, and there's a bunch of drugs and strippers and hookers, whatever, in the room, and the security guard comes and says, hey, you got to keep it down, everyone has to leave. Okay, whatever. Now, say the police department comes and says, hey, Mr. Security Guard, we think that there's a dude up there that's doing XYZ. Go up there and look into it. At that moment, that security guard is now an agent of the state.
Right.
So when the FBI starts directing them, Twitter then becomes an agent of the state. So, and they're subject to the same First Amendment. So any evidence that would come out of the security guard, even the maintenance guy, hey, maintenance guy, you have a key to the room, right? Hey, go up there and see if, check the smoke detector, then come down and tell us what's going on.
Right.
That's all, that's none of that can be used, because it's a violation of in this example, your Fourth Amendment rights.
Right.
But still it's very that's the disturbing part. And then no one saw anything wrong with it. And then they were going for like accounts that had like 20 followers.
Right.
That's the wild part.
Yeah.
Like some grandma who sends 3 tweets a year and has 25 followers makes a joke, and then they're shutting that one down.
Well, it'd be like them coming after our account.
Yeah.
We got 56 followers.
Yeah.
Who are we reaching? That you need to shut us down?
Yeah. We're reaching very intelligent, sophisticated people.
Apparently. Thank you for following, I guess. But I found... So part of me... the fact that a lot of these people, one, see nothing wrong with it, but two, that the dismissive tone is so coordinated with the exact words, it screams propaganda to me.
Yeah. The other thing is, how stupid do they think we all are? That's the worst. To me, that's one of the, like, how stupid do you think I am?
Well, but here's the thing, though. It's not us. Well, it's never us, right? We're so intelligent.
And sophisticated.
Yeah, I mean, factual podcast right here. We both know people that follow this stuff hook, line, sinker.
Oh, definitely.
Like, what's not? Like, they would literally tell us it's a nothing burger.
Yeah.
Like, no, wait a minute. Did you read any of it?
Yeah.
Well, no. But I'm sure it's nothing because someone told me it was nothing.
Right. But Mika on Morning Joe told me it was nothing burger.
Right. It's like, wait a minute, man. You realize, like, this could be one of the biggest stories, like you said, the story of the century. I mean, it's also, I don't remember I'm trying to think of the right word for it. It's a matter of, well, they weren't going after their people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to them, it's nothing. But there's the old saying, when they came for the baker, no one did anything. When they came for this one, no one did. When they came for me, there was no one there to save me.
Yeah.
And the other thing, it's not just happening at Twitter. Think of Google and YouTube. Think of what was the what's the other social media? Facebook. Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg openly admitted it on Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
That they were getting requests to take things down. But so it's like someone is deciding what is truth for you.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. So if I'm a principled person who owns this company or that company, and some FBI agent comes to me and says, "Hey, you need to take that down," like, well, no, go pound sand. What were they holding over their heads? There had to have been like the sword of Damocles or something over them. What were they holding over their heads?
Their entire company and life.
Yeah.
Think about it. The arm of the federal government. They didn't get Al Capone for murder. They got him for IRS violations.
Yeah.
They got him for tax evasion.
Yeah.
They will get you.
Yeah.
And plus the other argument a lot of these people on the left say, well, who was the president at the time? That's another thing that should really shock you.
Yeah.
Is that they were actively silencing the current political side of a sitting president. He wasn't directing them to do this.
Right. I mean, unless he's really dumb.
Right. I mean, they literally banned him off of Twitter.
Yeah.
But this was after he lost the election.
Right.
That they did it. And it was because they couldn't do it before because he was the president. And that would have been an act of, maybe that would have been an act of insurgency against the sitting president if they had forced Twitter to take him down.
Yeah.
You're essentially silencing a sitting U.S. president. I mean, think about this for a minute. Because the emails and the communications go back to during when he was president.
Yeah.
About surveilling his tweets while he was president. Again, this is a government agency surveilling a sitting U.S. president.
Yeah. This is like
scary.
This is like Banana Republic type stuff. Or like, the KGB doesn't like the premiere, so they're gonna.
It's literally shit you find in a movie.
Yeah,
it's movies. This is not real life. It shouldn't be.
No,
but it is, and there's receipts.
Yeah,
that's the other issue. Elon, look, you can like him or hate him. This dude, I mean, the dude was loved by liberals for making those Teslas, and they ate those Tesla up,
and they still all drive him around.
Correct. And all of a sudden now they hate him because he's exposing corruption. And look, call this what you want. It is corruption somewhere. And who's pulling the strings?
How is anyone okay with corruption?
Right.
Like if my candidate, so like I really like Larry Hogan. I think Larry Hogan's done a great job as governor. But say it turns out that like Larry Hogan's entire administration is like just corrupt, rotten to the core. It comes out like I'm not going to stand there and like support. Like I'm okay with that corruption. Right. Larry Hogan did it.
Right.
I'm like, well, that sucks.
Those kickbacks are okay.
Yeah.
But not those in Baltimore City.
Right.
No, I'm against all kickbacks.
Yeah.
I'm against all that corruption. And like, look, we always knew that whether the CIA or I don't know which agency is responsible for overseas spying. I really don't. I don't know whether it's the FBI, the CIA.
There's NSA, DIA. Sure. I mean, there's a million of them.
Yes, I don't know which was responsible for the overseas spying.
Yeah,
but I don't know why I thought this, but I always thought it was illegal to spy on U.S. citizens by those agencies.
The Patriot Act opened up a lot of that stuff.
That's true. Well, and Edward Snowden kind of opened up everyone's eyes to that. But no one cared, though. That's another weird thing. This dude basically said, look, the government can control your phone, open your camera without you knowing.
Yeah.
Open your laptop camera without you knowing. Turn on your microphones without you knowing. And everyone's like, okay.
Yeah. But I still get my Snapchat and Insta and porn.
Right.
So I'm fine with it.
Or if you're not doing anything wrong. they're not going to. They're not coming after you.
I cannot stand that argument.
Right.
That, well, I got nothing to hide, so sure,
Right.
you can go through my stuff. No, you can't.
What if one of these agents has something against furries,
Yeah.
and you're doing your furry thing, and they turn on the camera and you're sitting there in your bunny outfit, with your whip or whatever. I don't know what furries do.
Yeah.
But I also look, if you want to be a furry and do all that furry stuff, great, good for you. But let's say there's a government agent all up in his high principles or whatever, says that furry shouldn't be allowed to furry,
Yeah.
and he decides to surveil you and arrest you
Yeah.
for tax evasion because you were doing furry stuff.
Yeah.
And
Because
he
you
didn't
had a furry OnlyFans,
Right.
And you got a bunch of money from your furry fans, furry OnlyFans.
There you go.
And you didn't report that income,
Correct.
so
So who's to say whatever it is that you're doing, it might not be illegal, but let's say someone's objecting to it.
yeah.
You don't think they're going to find something
Yeah.
to come get you on?
Well, I mean, but look, so all of and I'm not going to defend the conduct of the participants in January 6th.
No.
However, not one of them has been charged with treason or insurrection or any of that. I think the highest charge is entering a federal building, essentially trespass. Mm-hmm. And some of those people are still in jail.
Without trial yet.
Yeah.
They've been withheld without trial for a while.
So, I mean, how is that? And everyone's like, oh, okay, whatever.
Well, and of course, a lot of the people on the left don't realize that a federal building in Portland was torched.
Yeah.
Was basically burned. I don't think you can burn to the ground because I think it was made of stone.
Yeah.
Like some marble or something back when, because it's an old building.
Yeah.
And nothing was done to those people. And so basically what the people on the right are saying is, well, wait a minute. Yeah, equal crime, equal time.
Yeah.
These people, like the people in Portland, actually brought weapons to that fight.
Oh,
and these people did, these guys, don't get me wrong. I'm not defending these people. They took flagpoles and tried to beat people with them. But you also had people, a guy trying to carry a podium out.
Yeah, then you had the QAnon Buffalo Shaman.
Yeah, that guy was,
Then you had other people that were just like, oh, I'm going to walk in here and walk around.
And people opened the doors for him.
Yeah.
So not everyone that day was created equal.
Yeah.
There were some people with some bad intentions. Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay, arrest them.
Yeah.
Throw them in jail.
And it's just like people at a BLM, rally.
Right.
There were people there that were there to protest for a cause they believed in, and I 100% support their right and to do so. There were other people there that brought Molotov cocktails and bricks,
right,
and weapons, and were there just to cause trouble.
Right.
So again, you have all kinds of people coming together in one thing. You have the bad actors and the good people. So, but now we're, then you've got that other guy what's that dude's name that was like taught the night before or that like, let's go to the Capitol, and he's all over. I forget that guy's name.
I forgot to. He always shows up at these rallies.
Yeah.
And he's always trying to instigate shit.
Yeah.
And he's always wearing a MAGA hat.
Yeah.
He's like this really tall, like looks like an ex-Marine.
Yeah.
And it turns out the guy's probably still an agent.
Yeah.
Trying to incite people. It's almost like that whole the kidnapping plot for the governor of Michigan.
Yeah.
Where I think it was like 13 of the 15 people were FBI agents. And they basically goaded these two guys into going along with this plot.
Yeah.
Whereas if those 12 or 13 guys weren't there, it never would have happened.
Yeah.
It's like, that's got to be entrapment on some level.
I can't figure out
they
how
did
it's
get
not.
convicted though.
Yeah. And then you had, I always had problems. So after 9/11, and the thing people don't realize is Ben Franklin has a quote, those who are willing to sacrifice freedom for security deserve neither. Mm-hmm. And I agree with it 100%. And then you have one of the we just, like the Patriot Act, wholesale just signing away, just granting power to the federal government, to this huge surveillance apparatus. So they had to do something to, all these 3-letter agencies had to do something to justify their existence. Like, how many terrorists have you caught? Oh, none. So they'd go out and they'd find these loser loners who were rattling on stuff on the internet. They'd find them. The agent would go make contact with them. And then they'd start talking like, hey, we should actually do this. And then they'd make a fake bomb. And then they lock the guy up for making a bomb.
Right.
Like, how is this not in track? Like, I didn't understand how, like, this thing was not going to go, it wasn't even a bomb. But they charged him with making it, just, to say, hey, look what we got. You created the whole thing. It's like the volunteer fireman that sets the thing on fire that wants to be the hero for putting the fire out.
Right.
But at least that guy committed a crime.
Right.
So
it just, so I guess, so with the Twitter files here, I'm just surprised that these major news organizations, for example, like the New York Post and the Washington Times, that's where a lot of people still get their news from. They're some of the oldest news organizations in the world. And they're paying it no mind. And then on top of that, they're not paying anything on the Hunter Biden laptop any mind either. They're still, like, first of all, CNN, I believe MSNBC, New York Post, or New York Times, and Washington Post, I believe they said haven't run a minute of coverage on the Twitter files.
Yeah.
None. Like, this is literally nothing to them.
Yeah.
And I remember when they were talking to Jeff Zucker about the Hunter Biden laptop and why they didn't run with it, he basically said, well, because it wasn't a story. It wasn't a story because you didn't want to look into it. If you looked into it, you would see there was more to it than naked pics, him doing coke. No one cares. Everyone thinks it's about him doing coke. No one cares about him doing coke.
Yeah.
Not one person. Not one person cares that he's got hookers on there.
I bet you half of DC,
right,
of all the people in the in crowd, are blowing 8 balls off of the anatomy of some hooker at some point.
Put whatever you want up your nose.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about that.
Right.
What everyone cares about is the documentation about a possible kickbacks to foreign deals. Basically, U.S. taxpayer money being funneled to foreign organizations where some of that money made it back to a vice president's pocketbook.
Yeah.
That's what people want investigated. That's what some of these emails are alluding to.
Yeah.
That's what a confidential Biden associate, Tony Bobulinski, testified towards.
Yeah.
Like, you literally have someone that was inside with the Biden family saying, yes, this happens. And oh, by the way, that laptop might have some receipts. You're telling me you don't want to know about that? Or at least have it looked into? Like, aren't you the least bit curious?
Yeah.
Rather than, but they're everyone on the left's defense is, nobody wants to see his naked dick pics. Nobody cares. Nobody cares that you're taking advantage of someone's addiction.
Oh yeah.
Like, no. No one cares. Look, if he's got addiction problems, go get help.
Yeah.
If you have an addiction to kickbacks on government money, you need to go to jail.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's different. And that's what, but they don't want to hear that. They don't even want to look into it.
Yeah.
It's like, you want to pretend that it's not there. And look, for all I know, it's not there. But I at least want someone to look into it with an open mind.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be an FBI agent that's beholden to some secret organization or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not going to find anything regardless of how much they look at it. You know? They're going to, I mean, or stuff might get deleted, or I don't know. Is it so much to ask that, hey, we just want things to be at least somewhat on the up and up here?
Yeah. And I think the people that are behind this probably think that they're doing the right thing.
Sure.
However, every time they do it, they're just undermining the credibility of the of their agency, of the federal government, of all these institutions. They're just washing the foundation out from underneath of it. It used to be no matter what, like as much as anyone hated this, like if there's some bad incident involving a policeman somewhere, they'd say to the polls, how much do you trust but the FBI always maintained but now their levels are starting to go down.
Right.
So if you don't trust any of these people, then, eventually they lose all credibility.
They're supposed to be apolitical.
Yeah.
Like whether it's the CIA, DOJ, FBI, it's supposed to be apolitical.
Yeah.
They do, because it's part of the executive branch, they do work at the behest of the sitting president.
Mm-hmm.
But not to the level of spying on its own citizens.
Right.
Now, J. Edgar Hoover, when he founded the FBI, I mean, he started that little bonanza.
Oh, he kept files on everybody.
Yeah, I mean, some people said it was because of self-preservation, right? Because he wanted to do the right thing and he wanted to be able to investigate anybody, and in order to do that, he needed dirt on the highest people on the land in case he had to investigate them.
Yeah.
Basically, it was basically to keep everybody honest.
Yeah.
But who was keeping him honest, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, but I digress. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, you just, as citizens, just regular guys, nobody should be looking at us.
Mm-hmm.
We're just out here trying to live, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you have, you want to talk about tax fraud, right? For example, like they lowered the threshold for these online payment accounts like PayPal and Venmo or whatever. Yeah. If they're commercial accounts, the threshold used to be $20,000 and 200 transactions. You had to meet both criteria before the IRS was notified.
Yeah.
Now it's $600, no transaction limit.
Mm-hmm.
$600.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you have the richest people in the world that are U.S. citizens hiding money in offshore accounts.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen the movie The Laundromat, watch it, because it shows you how it happens. And it's intricate, it's detailed, and there's billions upon billions of dollars in these offshore accounts that nobody's paying taxes on.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to investigate that, if you spent millions on those investigations, it would still return you. Your return on investment will be much higher than you coming and checking out someone's PayPal account that might have 20 or 30 grand in it.
Yeah.
Because think about it this way. You're only getting 30% of that. Mm-hmm. You're telling me 10 grand is a big enough drop in the bucket. So let's say someone has 30 grand in their PayPal account that their side hustle or whatever. At most, you're going to get 30% of that. You're probably only going to get 15, but let's say you're going to get 30.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me it's worth it to put 2 IRS agents on it
at $100,000 a year a pop
to get 10 grand.
Yeah.
Rather than using all of those resources, putting hundreds of agents on these offshore accounts, spending maybe millions, but you're going to rake in billions.
Yeah. Well, the guy that has the 30 grand from his side hustle doesn't have senators and congressmen in his pocket.
Correct.
And hasn't bought everybody off.
Correct.
And doesn't have lobbyists.
Yep.
So, and I think like say had I won my fantasy football league this year, I would have gotten $600.
Yep.
So I'd have to report that $600 is.
Well, PayPal. Here's the thing: if you got it via PayPal and it was a business, and let's say you had a business account, and some people have business accounts, so people can pay them with credit cards, right?
Yeah.
Like let's say you're a kid babysitting, right? And people want to pay with credit cards. Well, you have to open up a business account to do that.
Yeah.
So let's say they get over $600 for babysitting. Mm-hmm. Yes, that once you hit $600,
Yeah.
from $599 to $600, PayPal then sends a 1099 to the IRS for you. Mm-hmm. You don't even get a choice about reporting it.
Yeah.
But if you don't pay taxes on it,
Yeah.
are you serious?
Well, the thing is, like, I remember when W. Bush, they changed some tax law, and they were going after waiters and waitresses
Yeah.
for tips.
Yep.
But meanwhile, you've got these corporations that pay nothing.
Right.
And that's why I don't understand the disconnect. I think there's people on the right, and people on the left who both hate the same thing, both see the wrong in the same thing, but they keep everyone divided over these dumb, not inconsequential issues.
Right.
So that they can't come together. That's what they're truly afraid of, I think. Is those two sides being like, well, wait, you don't like that either? No, we hate that too. Oh, well, let's be friends. Like in Step Brothers, did we just become best friends?
Yep. Well, and we've talked about this before. There's a populist left and a populist right in this country. Mm-hmm. And all populism really is that you think that you should take care of your own first.
Yeah.
Which is essentially what the whole America First movement is. Is that, look, let's stop sending this money overseas. Let's keep it here. Let's take care of our own. Let's stop taking care of migrants crossing the border that don't have citizenship. Mm-hmm. Because as much as people don't want to admit it, when people come over the border and they don't get a trial right away, they stay in the country before there's a trial on whether they stay or go.
Yeah.
Well, and during that time,
I'm sure they all show up for that trial too.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they are, right? But let's say they established some residency and they brought kids with them. Well, now those kids have to go to school.
Yeah.
But because these aren't taxpayers now, so they're not putting money into the pot to educate these children. Mm-hmm. So,
well, they also have to, if their kitchen catches on fire, they have to call the fire department.
Right.
If they drive on the roads, they use all the same services that everyone else pays into.
Right.
And look, I'm not heartless. I'm not going to say like kick these little kids out.
No. But I'm also saying, look, my solution to immigration is when you come across day one, you come across the border, right? Well, the first time you've come to this country, you now get a worker ID number.
Yeah.
And therefore, if you're here and working, you're now paying taxes into the system.
Yeah.
So at least you're paying a portion of what the services cost to help you out. Mm-hmm. Roads, services, schools, fire, police, whatever. And you can come and go as you please. But once you have that worker ID number, I think you can't work, and businesses are supposed to enforce this where you're not paying people under the table.
Yeah.
But they do because they can pay them less.
Right.
But if you made it where there was actual enforcement on those companies, say, hey, look, I want to see everybody's worker ID number, and you got to point out who's who. Yeah. Basically do a random check, right? But anyway, that's kind of what America First is. And there are people on the left who believe in that, and that's the populist left.
Yeah.
And they're saying, look, we want to put a lot of this money you're sending overseas for wars and whatnot, all the money that went for gender studies in Pakistan, we want that money here for bolster Medicaid or Medicare.
Yeah.
Or taking care of the elderly and the sick or whatever. Now, their ideas of what to do with that money on the populist left and right might differ, but the main goal of keeping that money here to take care of citizens of this country, because citizens of this country are paying into that tax base.
Yeah.
That's common ground for both sides. And, like, for example, it's like Jimmy Dore is a populist leftist.
I love Jimmy Dore.
I think he's great.
Yeah.
I share a lot of his views on things.
Yeah.
And I encourage anyone who is a liberal, who considers themselves a Democrat, a leftist, I don't care what you call yourself, go listen to Jimmy Dore's podcast. And again, I'm recommending. Again, this is like the second episode in a row. I'm telling you to go listen to another podcast. Mm-hmm. But go listen to Jimmy.
Yeah, he comes out every Friday.
Every Friday.
And the phone calls are hilarious.
Yeah, but I mean, him and Kurt Metzger is also on that show. I think he's hysterical. Mm-hmm. My point is this: for people who think that we're right wing, which we're not.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already stated a lot of our views are probably liberal views on things.
I don't think you'd be for,
other than
socialized medicine.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we want single payer.
Yeah.
For crying out loud. That's not a right wing view at all.
Yeah.
Our only caveat was we want the government to do it correctly.
Right. Which is impossible. But
right. It's right. It's never going to happen. But look. We want what you want. We just don't think it could ever happen.
Yeah.
But listen to what Jimmy says. I mean, he's a leftist with credibility.
Mm-hmm. Who's been completely ostracized by.
Oh, they hate him now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. It's like he didn't toe. I'll give an example of what they're doing to him. Right. So right now, and we're kind of running up on it, but I'm going to make this one example. Right now, they're doing voting for who's going to be the Speaker of the House, and Kevin McCarthy doesn't have the votes to be the Speaker.
Yep.
And I don't know what's going to happen with that. But the funny part is the Democrats on the left are poking fun, saying, "Oh, well, at least we can nominate a leader." Like, you're basically poking fun at a group of people who, yes, they're in a party together,
mm-hmm.
but you're laughing at them because they're not in lockstep.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's actually kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
That you had 21 to 24 people who are standing their ground saying, "Look, we don't like this guy.
Yeah.
He's an establishment Republican."
Yeah.
Like, they're not super right wing people. Like, some of them are America First people. Some of them are right wing nuts. But those 22 people or 24 people are saying, "Hey, look, we're tired of the old guard.
Yeah.
We're tired of the swamp."
Mm-hmm.
And oh, by the way, you know who? I think 20 of the 22 nominated to be Speaker.
Mm-hmm.
It was a young black man from Florida.
Yeah.
Donalds.
Yeah.
I can't remember his first name.
Yeah.
And the funny part is that the left are the ones calling these people racist.
Yeah, Corey Bush called him a prop. He said he's nothing but a prop.
They basically pulled out. They literally pulled out. He's the black face of white supremacy again. Yeah. She literally pulled out the white supremacy one.
Yeah.
Again, like, this dude is like 6'5", 6'3", 6'4". Yeah. He says, one of the reporters asked him, "Hey, are you worried about people, saying how you're messing up the party or whatever?" He goes, "What do I have to worry about? I'm 6'3", 275 pounds." He goes, "I'll be all right." But it was just a funny response to the question. But
yeah,
they'll make a deal.
Yeah, the Dems seem to come in lockstep.
Yeah.
Well, that's why Tulsi Gabbard fell out of their good graces and ultimately left the party. When she voted against, Barack Obama wanted to bomb Syria.
Yep.
And she voted against it.
She got ostracized for it.
She got phone calls. "How dare you vote against the president of your party and what he wants to do?"
Yep.
She said, I don't work for the president or the party. I work for the people of
Hawaii,
of my district.
Yep.
And it was, so when you see stuff like that, it's like, that's not how this is supposed to work. I don't think the founding fathers had envisioned this.
No, I mean, shoot, when they nominated, when they were going, I think they were deliberating who was supposed to be the first president. It wasn't like 20 votes until they came up with Washington, and it was only because Washington reluctantly said yes.
Yeah.
But like they were trying to go through a whole bunch of the people. They couldn't coalesce around one person, and they eventually did.
Yeah.
And I don't see this dissent from 20 or so people as necessarily a bad thing. And one of the funny things was I was watching Tim Pool's live cast of C-SPAN, which, by the way, C-SPAN's ratings must be through the roof right now with all this attention they're getting. Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, those are two hot button names, right?
Yeah, especially she's the space lasers lady.
Yeah, I would love to hear about the space lasers from her. But anyway, especially if she has proof, because I want to, like, that'd be awesome if we had some space lasers.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Okay, anyway, I don't want to get off topic. So they're sitting next to each other. Gaetz gets up when his name is called, and he nominates Donald Trump for Speaker of the House. Like, obviously not going to happen, but he did it for whatever reason. And he sits down, and he and Marjorie Taylor Greene are laughing. Like they know, like all right. He could have easily voted for Donald, but for Rep. Donald, but he didn't. He's basically poking the bear of the Democrats right now. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene, when it's her turn, she stands up and she votes for Kevin McCarthy. Mm-hmm. Because Kevin McCarthy met with Donald Trump and they hashed out something.
Yeah.
And she supports Trump. But you literally have these two so-called right-wing nuts. One's voting for the party line, and the other one's not there yet.
Yeah.
Right? And you got the Democrats over there making fun of them for not coalescing on a Speaker of the House. Mm-hmm. And it goes to show where both parties kind of are. And it's like, one party, if you don't step in line, you just get hammered. Like Tulsi Gabbard literally got driven out of the party.
Yeah.
Joe Lieberman, years ago, driven out of the party because he dared to work with Republicans.
Yeah.
Like, he was good friends with John McCain. There was at one point in time, there was talk of Joe Lieberman being John McCain's running mate. Mm-hmm. Like, that was an actual conversation.
Yeah.
And eventually he left the Democrat Party, became an independent, won re-election as an independent in Connecticut. But it kind of speaks to the greater sense around Democrats. If you don't toe this line, whether you're a representative, a voter, or in the social circles or whatever it is, you're out.
Yeah.
Until you get back in line. And Republicans, right now, at least, you can have a difference of opinion. And we're going to laugh about it.
Yeah.
And eventually we're going to come to a deal. Mm-hmm. But it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to want to nominate someone else right now. If you're angling for something else, do your thing. Mm-hmm. Get your deal. We'll work it out.
Yeah.
And for me, deal making is politics. That's what it's always been.
It's all supposed to be compromise.
Yeah.
That's what's supposed to happen.
But you got one party now saying, we're not doing that. This is the talking points. This is where you stand. And if you don't stand here, we're going to make your life miserable.
Yeah, now it seems like the only thing they can unanimously agree on is giving themselves raises.
Yeah.
And enormous omnibus spending bills and that's another thing. We should go through that monster.
What was it, 4,000 pages?
Yeah.
And they had 7 hours to read it.
Yeah.
Here, vote on this. Vote on it now. Do it. But I don't know what's in it. You don't need to.
Right.
We said it's okay.
Yeah.
We said it's fine. We agreed to it. The leadership agreed to it. Yeah, but I didn't read it. I didn't agree to this.
Yeah.
Let me see what's in it. No. You have 2 hours left to vote on it. I haven't even started reading it yet.
An omnibus spending bill can be blamed for the deplorable condition of our mental health treatment in this country.
Sure, it could be blamed for the fact that we sent a couple $100,000 to Pakistan for gender studies.
Yeah.
Because nobody knew it was in there.
That's got to be a weapon system of some type.
Sure.
Or a bribe.
Why not? You call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
I have no idea. You know?
Yeah.
And who knows what other money we're sending other places to do other things As stupid as that.
And the worst thing is this is all printed. This is all printed money. So they're just swiping the credit card.
Right. We don't have any of this.
Yeah.
We're just printing as we go. But so I thought it was interesting because I did want to get your take on those Twitter files. And we kind of veered into the House speakership.
Oh, we veered all over the place.
But I guess my point is this. I wish that, and I'm sure there probably are, right? I'm sure there are people on the left that will read it. And they're gonna have this like WTF moment.
The thing is, like, to those who are in power, look at it and do the right thing with it. Don't just put it aside or poop because it's against the guy you don't like.
Right.
Or it's for your guy. Like, that's the worst reason to do anything. And we are just it's completely divided among the two teams.
Yeah.
And that's what they, like, hey, my side is, these people think the same way I do. They must be right. But you have to have something that should say, again, do you want corruption, whether it's your guy or not? And the answer should be no. But I think this is the way, I really believe this is the way it's always been done. It's just there's a lot more information out now, and it's all out. The lights are on.
Right.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, although I don't think omnibus spending bills have always been done.
No, it's been a recent thing, and what it allows them to do is they can jam a whole bunch of crap in there. It's like, hey, we're going to do something you don't like, and we're going to do something I don't like, but I'm going to do something I don't like to get the thing that you don't like that I want.
Right.
And we can all vote on the omnibus spending bill without having to have any accountability about it.
Right.
So, say in that omnibus spending bill, there's billions of dollars going to Ukraine to continue this war.
Right.
And I think what people don't understand is, like, they say, yeah, Putin's bad. That's all, Putin bad. It's all like idiocracy, right?
Right.
The problem is that the longer this war continues, we are so detached. All those missiles and bombs and all that stuff that's flying all over the place, regardless of whether it's landing on the Russian side or the Ukrainian side, there are human beings that are being blown and ripped to pieces. People that have families, that have, lives, that have dreams, hopes. And whether they're wearing a Russian uniform or Ukrainian uniform, it's still a human being on the other end of that rifle or the other end of that weapon system. And to us, it's like, oh, Putin bad. But to that 19-year-old Russian kid that got sent over there, does he know what he's doing over there? Probably not.
Doesn't want to be there.
Yeah. So, but let's just keep blowing them up, and let's keep prolonging the suffering.
Yep.
And, we're going on, soon it'll be about a year for that. That's been going on.
Yeah. And and just to go back to the House of Representatives real quick, the Democrats spent 6 years trying to impeach Donald Trump. And I think they impeached him twice, right?
Yeah.
Which does nothing. He doesn't go to jail.
Right.
He's not out of the presidency.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is either the slickest cat on earth with how many times they've tried to put him in jail, or he really didn't do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? But you know what's going to happen when the Republicans take over? They're going to spend the next 2 years trying to impeach Biden.
Well, it's like,
it's like, what are we going to do from now on? If the opposite party's in control, we're literally just going to start impeaching presidents.
it's like a bunch of babies.
Yeah.
And, you have, it's like during when Barack Obama was president and John Boehner was running the House. And all they did every session was vote to repeal Obamacare.
Right. Over
knowing
and over.
that it wasn't going to get past the Senate because that was controlled by the Democrats and the Democrat president, that was his signature, his legacy legislation.
Right.
So he was going, oh yeah, let's repeal it. Well, I'll sign that. But they kept doing it just to say they did it.
Right.
I voted against Obamacare. Oh, Did you vote against Obamacare yet? Well, no, I wasn't in office yet. Oh, let's repeal it so you got a chance to say you voted against it.
Right.
It's a stupid waste of time.
Yes.
And all the business that could be getting done, and they're wasting their time doing this.
Right.
Like, I got to a point where I was like, I was not going to vote for a single incumbent. I don't care what part, not one. So.
Well, that's when I knew we weren't dealing with serious people.
Yeah.
We were dealing with paid actors at this point. Whatever they could do to get on camera.
Yeah.
Because if they can get on camera, it's free advertising for them to send back home and to get reelected.
Yeah.
Because that's where the money is. Mm-hmm. As long as you're sitting in that chair, the money keeps rolling in.
Yeah.
On that note, we had like 3 other topics we wanted to go through, but we'll just do those in the next episode. Thank you for stopping by, listening to this show. You might notice a little bit of a difference on the show. We're still going to release shows on Tuesday. We just might not release them every Tuesday. We won't go more than 2 weeks without a show though. So the worst case scenario you'll see, like if we put this show out, you're listening on Tuesday, we might miss next week, put one out the following Tuesday. But we don't want to just create shows without anything of interest to talk about. Now, we do have some weight loss stuff we wanted to get to this week, but we'll do that in the next episode. So we probably will put out 2 episodes back-to-back Tuesdays. But don't be surprised if we do miss a Tuesday here and there.
We didn't go anywhere.
No, we're not leaving. We're still going. We're going to try and get some more people on the show as far as experts, especially some on weight loss. Mental health, hopefully we'll try and get some of them in. And then we might ask some people to come on that if we can find them that happen to have an interest in some pet interest that we have as well. So stay tuned for that. We appreciate you coming. We appreciate you staying here. Please like, subscribe, and share. Especially share. If you like the show, maybe one of your friends will like the show. And then you can talk about the show together, about how stupid we are.
Yeah.
Look
at these idiots.
Look, I got no problems with people calling me an idiot.
Yeah.
It won't be the first time. My mother calls me an idiot quite a bit. So, you wouldn't be the closest person to me calling me a moron.
You'd be joining a very distinguished club.
That's right. Keep coming back. We appreciate you. Next week we'll talk about weight loss because we do have quite a bit of stuff to put out about that. And we will see you next time.